Matt, thanks for joining.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to
We've
see
known
you
each
too.
other a long time.
It's been a long time. I think we met at one of the Karma openings years ago, right?
Yep. Yep. I have a strong memory of you doing is it called cold therapy?
Yes.
You weren't wearing a jacket and it was cold out, but you were like, "No, I'm adjusting to a new way of life."
That's right. I was
Are
doing
you
the
still
cold.
doing that?
Yeah, I still do.
Really? Is
Yeah.
it working?
Yeah, it does help. Now I've been going mainly focusing on doing it like a certain times of day. In the morning is it's a lot better. I use heat in the evening, you can sleep better. In the morning, doing the cold is nice because you get an energy boost.
Okay, so it's not like you're trying to tolerate extreme cold all the time. It's sort of like a once per day
Yeah.
go there kind of thing. And
Yeah.
okay.
Except it kind of has turned into that because I don't have heat. Most of the winter, I'm just like cold all the time and I just have to accept it.
What kind of building are you in?
It's a commercial space.
Okay.
So we're responsible. We have AC, but the heater component broke. And so
Uh-huh.
we're responsible to replace anything. So it's like thousands of dollars and we're not sure how long we're going to stay. So
Right.
we're all like, I guess we'll just use space heaters. And this has been going on for a couple of years.
I
But
remember hearing stories from people that went to RISD and would get these like abandoned factory type spaces, and they're like, "Yeah, I have 10,000 square feet, but it's ice cold, and you have to go outside to go to the bathroom or something." And then somebody was like, "Yeah, a friend of mine had like a part of essentially his bedroom was like this giant room, and there was a part where the ceiling wasn't there, and it would snow like into his room." And it was just like, "Oh, we just don't go over to that area." Sounds
Oh
crazy.
no. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes there's like if it gets really cold, there's ice on the inside of the window, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
man, maybe I'll skip the ice bath today.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting it. And also I I can't
But your dopamine is through the roof.
it is through the roof. It truly the first and the nice thing about that is that it lasts. It's like unlike something that you would take like a drug or something like that that would
Hmm.
boost your dopamine, but then it would crash. But so you
Hmm.
have a nice increase and just a gradual tapering off, and so it's a very healthy way to use the chemicals that you
Yeah.
naturally have. Did you have friends? You went to RISD?
I didn't go there, no. I went to Boston University, which was there was an art school within the university, and so it was kind of intimate in that sense. It was I think there were 20 painting majors and maybe 60 kids in my whole grade in visual arts. And like there was the acting school in the same building and the music school. Um, but it wasn't as because it was this bigger university, I would say it wasn't as people weren't quite as committed, maybe. Like when I hear stories about Fort Thunder or those things that happened at RISD, I'm just like, oh my God, yeah, we didn't have anything like that. It was just like figure drawing.
What is Fort Thunder?
Fort Thunder, it's this it's like a collective that had it's a couple of guys that are a little older than me. Like I think Brian Chippendale's one of them. It's these guys that had a band called Thunderbolt. I am not an expert in this, by the way, so people should look this up. And they had a huge warehouse space that they would have these parties at, and they would have like you would just go into a room and there'd be 5,000 toothpaste tubes nailed to the wall. Like it was just like very absurd and had a kind of manic creative energy, and everyone was invited to these crazy parties in those kind of warehouse spaces that were really cheap in Providence. And a whole kind of an art movement, a whole visual culture came from Fort Thunder. And friends of mine that were 18 had their minds blown going to these parties. But like Ryan Trick Carton maybe was like a kind of a celebrated thing that was like the next generation. Maybe he knew about that and kind of created another um, little world of his videos and stuff after Fort Thunder. But yeah, it's worth looking up.
Was this maybe like late 2000s?
It was like maybe late 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
like yeah, yeah, late 90s I think is like when the founding members were seniors.
So you went to Boston University,
Yes.
and then did you go straight to New York after that?
I went to San Francisco for a year just for no good reason. I had friends and we all were like, what are we going to do after we graduate, and somehow San Francisco became like, well, let's just move to San Francisco. Like, it's far away. It seems exciting. And I was pushing for this pretty hard. And there was going to be like 10 people that all moved together, and ultimately it was four when it actually was time to have it happen. But I had started showing, like, I was in a group show at this gallery in New York right before it was time to go to San Francisco. And so part of me was like, well, I should go to New York. There's something's happening for me there. But I had pushed too hard and convinced too many people to go. So I felt like, okay, I'm going to go to San Francisco, hang out with my friends, and I'll work on stuff for this new gallery in New York. It was called Rivington Arms, and it was Mirabelle Marden and Melissa Bent, and they were just a year older than me, and they were very cool and fancy and sophisticated people that knew about the art world, and I didn't know anything. Um,
You just got
but
an undergrad, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I just got connected to that through uh, Mirabelle Marden is Bryce Marden's daughter, and his other daughter, Malia, went to Harvard, and I got to know her through just socially. And she saw paintings at a party and told her sister, and it just kind of was like dumb luck of meeting cool people. And but then the paintings were they were pretty good for a 21-year-old or whatever. They were like weird figurative paintings, and yeah, and it kind of got the ball rolling, and yeah,
So
I've been
from
doing it
then,
ever since.
you said from you're pretty much just painting full time since then?
Yeah, I had a job in a cafe in Berkeley, like on Telegraph Avenue, while I was in San Francisco. Um, but I worked there like 3 days a week or something. I didn't work. I worked in a grocery store in high school. My girlfriend makes fun of me for this, that I've never really had a job. But yeah.
That's amazing though. It's a really rare, I think that's the fantasy that so many young artists have that somebody's gonna see my paintings and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
have this like career as a painter. And it's rare that it actually happens like that.
Right. Yep. It was totally lucky, and I try to beat people to saying that because there's a lot of people that want to tell me that, and so I try to say it first.
Well, I think there's a nice cross section of luck and skill and
The paintings were okay, people
yeah.
liked that. It was going okay. Yeah. But it was weird to be that young and then start showing, and then I kind of feel like my grad school experience, I didn't go to grad school, but my the it was kind of through shows. I was wanting to change my work and feeling restless, and then I would do a show and it would be different than the last one, and
So
um
your version of grad school was basically just having shows.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Um
amazing. So you get the people looking at the work and you get feedback on the work and so on,
yeah,
but publicly.
yeah.
Wow.
Um And that was, I feel like the first things I was doing were people liked them enough that I kind of bought myself a couple of shows that were a little like weird or not quite as clearly this is something we should support. But of course also like all the work, like the work cost nothing. Like the first show I was in, I think the paintings cost like one was like $700 or something. Um it wasn't quite like the market these days where people are jacking it up as quick as possible.
So maybe you didn't have the same pressure.
Yeah, yeah. And I felt like people supporting me, it was easier to just be like, yeah, we'll buy one of those things. It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal if you're a wealthy person. Yeah,
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I suppose cost of living was lower too
totally.
in
Yep.
those days. So this would have been
Um,
like 2000s
yep. In 2000, I graduated in 2002, and then I ultimately moved to New York when I had my first solo show, like a couple of months after in 2003.
at
So I've been
Rivington
here.
Arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Uh, yeah, I've been here since then. So
Amazing.
yeah, like 20 something years, 22.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I remember first encountering your work in an article in Art in America in like 2008 or something like that,
Okay.
or from maybe 2010. I'm not sure. I was in grad school at the time.
Hmm.
And I
Where'd you
remember
go?
I went to the University of Illinois, Champaign.
Oh yeah. Are you from Illinois?
I'm from Indiana. So
Okay.
went to for undergrad I went to Indiana University, which was basically like an atelier. It was like super, super figurative.
Hmm.
Everybody for the most part painted from life. Not quite atelier stuff. They weren't really doing the same kind of grid systems or whatever they do. And I'm grateful for that, for the training. But at the same time, it took me, I still kind of can't really shake a bit of that, like I
Yeah.
think it took a long time to come out of it. And when I went to grad school, I had one professor who called me out on it. And he was like, "You got to stop doing this Indiana thing." And I was like, "What do you mean?
Hmm.
I thought everybody paints like that." Then for grad school, it was like a very conceptual, or very at least free program. You were encouraged to really try and be creative and do whatever you wanted. So I think it was just the best thing for me at the time.
Awesome.
To be honest, I'm lucky I got into any grad school at all, like with what I was doing at the time.
I want to know what the Indiana School of Painting is. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, it was just like very traditional, like step by step, like this is how everyone is supposed to make a painting or
Well,
something.
kind of. It was
Yeah.
like they were training you to sort of. Do you know the painter Leonard Anderson?
Mm-mm.
He's awesome. He's really good. He was a teacher at Brooklyn College, and
Okay.
two of the faculty that I studied under studied with him. So that was the style. But it was like Fairfield Porter. There's a bit of Bay Area figurative paintings in there, maybe some Lois Dodd, stuff like that. That was very encouraged. But
Right.
do you know the book Hawthorne on Painting?
Mm-mm.
So Charles
Sounds
Hawthorne,
familiar.
it
I've
was
never
like
read a book before. Maybe you should know that for the rest of this convo. I've looked at the
well,
pictures though.
fortunately, nobody reads anymore. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
all working out for me.
it's all working out. Yeah. That was like the Bible for them, this Hawthorne on painting. And it was
Okay.
it's almost like the style of Robert Henry a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Very good for beginning students. Here's a color next to another color.
Yeah.
Let's talk about color relationships. Let's just get it all in gesture generally at first and then get specific after that.
I think BU, where I went, was doing that, and there were people with uh, a strong like kind of religious notion about this is how you do it. This is the real deal, and anything else is sort of attention seeking or
You're just trying something fancy. This is like real painting here.
yeah.
That was the idea. And it was subtly ingrained in
Lucian
me.
Freud was allowed. That
Absolutely.
guy,
Lucian Freud.
he was beloved.
Yep,
Yeah,
he was
you
in
were
the
allowed
canon.
to
Yep.
try to be Lucian Freud.
Yep. Do you know Ewan Uglo?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yes. With the marks on the
Yeah.
painting that was like the
Yeah.
measurement marks
Uh-huh.
that they wanted you to yeah. I have a
Yep.
book over here and I feel like people that had a similar experience like see that book on my shelf and they're like, "Oh, yeah, this guy."
What's the book? Oh, you have a
It's just a
Ewan
Ewan Uglo
Uglo.
book. Yeah.
Yep, I've got one too. I probably have the
Is
same
he
book.
like is he a big deal in London or something? I feel like I saw some paintings of his at the Tate and I was like, "Oh, okay, this guy's, it wasn't just like one professor of mine that thought this guy was important."
I think so. I think he's British too. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, yeah.
he definitely was, I think, probably one of the most influential people upon painting programs.
Yeah.
So when you were coming up, did you have to fight against that in undergrad?
Um, Not really. I mean, I wasn't very talented compared to the other kids just with pure draftsmanship and like I was sort of like in the middle. And when it was all about those exercises of like here's a bunch of cylinders, let's see the perfect ellipses and stuff like from and I was okay. But once it was maybe sophomore year where it started to branch out and be like, do a self-portrait where you're in some scenario that you make up. And I did one that really that the professors really liked where I dressed as a businessman and pretended like I was on the T, like the subway there, and like had a briefcase and like I tried to make this just kind of like a sad commute painting and lit myself from above with fluorescent light. And everybody else just kind of sat where they always sit in the model room or whatever and just was like, near the window. And so, like, I had a whole psychology and a narrative that I brought to it. And so the fact that I wasn't as good at painting didn't, I don't know, it started to be like, oh, yeah, you're doing more with bringing ideas into it. And so after that point, I felt really encouraged to kind of go after it.
So when you started to incorporate a narrative, then your relationship with painting changed.
I still I it just was like a means to an end. It was kind of like I would have almost a finished idea in my mind and then I would piece it together. And the painting part of it, I wanted to do, a good job, but it was never like the painting itself was sort of like, oh yeah, well that's the language. So just do a good job and deliver the idea, rather than having the subject be me painting. Does that make sense?
You wanted the painting to be good enough to carry the narrative.
Yeah, it just needed to be good enough that you weren't distracted, that you were looking at whatever the image was. And then I kind of have a million shortcuts. I'm using a projector. I'm printing out these days like images that are like exactly the same size as the paint as the painting. So, and I'm just like painting from like little pictures. Um,
You print the picture the same size as the painting
Yeah,
will
it's
be.
much easier. Yeah. So like, yeah, I'll print out like if a painting's 6 feet tall, I have 8 by 11s that add up to the whole, you know what I mean? Like then
Wow.
I'll do them one at a time. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a little easier than um trying to blow it up, I find. I don't know. That's just
Hmm.
how I've done it. And yeah, it's always just been about that finished image and kind of painting my way out of it, not feeling like um, my authorship is in the foreground beyond maybe the choices of subject or color or scale. Like those things I am choosing, but the actual like brush on surface, that kind of stuff, I've never found that to be a very good way for me to communicate. Like my handwriting's terrible, that
That's
kind of thing.
surprising because the paintings are
Yeah.
they're so tight.
Well, I'm tenacious. So I won't let it go until it looks good. But uh yeah, I'm not like there are people that I mean, most artists I know are like much more talented at drawing and stuff. Like if you were like sit down and draw my portrait, it would suck.
But if you were like, here, do my portrait, you have
If you let me
as
take
much
a
time as you
picture
want.
and
Yeah.
style you and kind of make a whole scenario and then putz with it on the computer for a while, yeah, no, then mine would be good.
So could you could you walk us through maybe from start to finish making a painting?
Okay. Um, well, usually I get a little inkling of an idea, and that will either be something I saw, um, an image I came across that I'm like, oh, that's either good to go or close. And sometimes it's something that just pops into my head, like, oh, that would be a good subject for me. And usually that means the subject is surprising to me as a painting. It's just like, oh, no one would paint that. I should paint that thing. Um, so let me think. Like in this show, there's this stack of towels. And I'd been thinking of painting a stack of towels for maybe 10 years. And it's just like, every once in a while, I'll save an image I see on the internet or something and put it in a folder of like half-baked ideas or whatever. And I saw a stack that, like the one in the show where it was two bath towels, two hand towels, and two washcloths. And they were all stacked up like a ziggurat or something, like a pyramid thing. And I looked at it and it came in any color. And so I was like, oh, that kind of looks like Philip Guston's buildings that he did, where they have, you know what I mean? Those like stepped buildings where he paints all the windows on the front. And I was like, oh, I could do like a pink towels on a pink background, and it's going to look like one of those Guston buildings, and maybe some painting nerds will kind of get that reference, and that's sort of a fun excuse to finally do this towel idea. And I took an image and I started playing with it, and it just never clicked. It's something about the composition was wrong. And so it kind of was like it's a Photoshop file, it's a rough draft, and I just put it down. And I started working on some other things for the show. And then at a certain point, I had the two stocking paintings, the legs sticking up in the air. And I was like, well, if these two are next to each other on a wall, what could go next to them? And I was like, maybe that towel thing, because the towels are facing to the right and the legs are kind of they're going off the canvas in the bottom right corner. So it felt like there was a kind of movement between the images. Like, do you know what I mean? Like both of them are kind of pushing right.
So you
And
were already thinking about the towels in the context of the show.
yes. And then I was like, well, the background of the legs is kind of this grayish pink, and there's one that's kind of grayish lavender. And so the pink didn't make sense anymore. And I was like, well, what would be color that would pop next to those legs? And a kind of a citrusy yellow towel, like seemed right. And then the background I changed instead of having a kind of full monochromatic picture. I was like, okay, then I could do like a light blue that would complement those warmer grays. And I found a different image that like just slightly different image of towels that looked nicer. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this makes sense now.
So you mainly find the
Um,
images online?
yeah, well, mainly yes. And yeah, I would
Yeah.
say mostly, though not always. Like the gloves are my hands in gloves, and I lit it and photographed it, and um, that yeah.
Do you have a something?
There's
Sorry.
no
So,
rule about. I
yeah,
don't have a
yeah,
like a
yeah.
like a. It has to be like this or something.
But you have something in your
It's
mind, and you're like,
yeah.
I'm really thinking about this thing, and if you can't find it, then you create it.
Yeah, and sometimes I just see it and I go, "Oh, well, there's one of my paintings." I just can't, scrolling. Um, but yeah, other times it's like, "Oh, this would be kind of a cool," and I look for it and I can't. It's not there, so I'm like, maybe I need to make this one from scratch. But that's I try to avoid that. It's a pain in the ass, and like I don't. I'm not that good of a like photographer, like. I'm okay. I can kind of like pass, but it's like, somebody that's really good at making the most beautiful generic images, that you wouldn't hire me for that job. Um, but yeah, every once in a while I kind of need to do it myself. So yeah, with these towels, it was a found image. And then actually painting the towels um was too hard. It so there's kind of like a shorthand fuzzy towel language that just came about slowly.
As
But
you were painting.
it doesn't really like if you get in there, you're like, this doesn't look like a towel. But it looks enough like a towel that everyone but me is satisfied.
I recall those towels being very, very towel-like, almost to the point where you could really feel the texture. And I guess
People
looking at,
felt like they were extra luxurious, maybe. They're
like you could
like too fuzzy.
tactile, like you feel
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean everything in the show I could really linger for a long time. We'll tell people also you have a show right now at Karma
yep.
and people should absolutely go see it before. When does it come down?
December 20th.
So
Yeah,
people should definitely see it before it comes down. It's
yeah.
spectacular. I could linger. I went back again to see it again and I was just
Everyone should linger there.
yeah, you can really linger, but I think the fact that you spend so long on these paintings, there's so much time embedded and effort that it invites somebody to really stay for a while.
It's stressful to do a show in New York. I mean, I live here, and it just really feels like. I mean, I don't know. I had a show in London a year ago, and I know like two people there. Or I've had sh a show in LA, and it's okay. Hey, my seven friends are here, but in New York, it's like, oh, I know like 100 people here, and I know a lot of people that know a lot about painting, and it just feels, yeah, a lot of pressure. So. That discovery of that wall with the legs and the towel was like the first thing where it's like, okay, these are all new images, and I feel good enough about them that they can be the start of the New York show and kind of they set a certain vibe. And so it was just build off that basically with the rest of it.
Would you say there's a narrative of the show as a whole?
Um, I think there's a feeling, like I intentionally wanted to hang a lot of paintings in that square. The gallery is shaped like a square, and you walk in from one corner. And unlike some other spaces, um, there's not really a narrative to the space itself. You kind of see it all at once. Um, whereas, some other places where you like proceed down a longer space and then maybe there's another room or you turn. So I went in thinking like I need this show to hit hard and go quick and just be feel like it's super cohesive. Um, and I liked the idea of having more work. Like usually I space them out and there's a lot more breathing room, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do three per wall and kind of make smaller paintings and hang them closer together so that you are always looking at a few different things. So maybe a color of a painting that's in your peripheral vision is something that makes the painting you're looking at more beautiful. Um, and yeah, just kind of creating that group and making sure all of the subjects felt like they were connected and the colors felt like, like I did a painting of like two ribeye steaks and they're bright red with veins and on blue, like a blue foam, like thing like that you would get at the grocery store. And it was interesting to just put that painting into the group to see like, oh, this is not in the same frequency as these other ones. It's too loud, it's too pop. And so the paintings in the show have a slightly kind of uh I don't know, they have a they're the colors are just more subtle and the subjects are a little quieter than raw meat. Um, and themes started to develop. And I guess I started to think that the show was about like an affair that happened and ended, or it was about, there's like a little bit more sexuality in it, in that there's these like hips of a woman and there's the stockings and there's like a dog leash. And then there was also this theme of cleaning up where there's a sponge and a sink and the towels. Um, Yeah, so I felt like there was these sort of adult themes coming in. And my last few shows have been much more pop, like full Crayola color. And yeah, so I was like, it's time for like a little more serious grown-up feeling show. Um, yeah, and the way that I paint, I think, is a little fetishy. So having those fetishy elements in the work was nice. Uh, yeah, I'm 45. It was time for kind of a grown-up show.
That's good. So let's pick up where you left off. You found the towels that you wanted.
Yep.
Now you take the image, you print it the same size as the painting,
Hmm.
project it, and
Yep.
then when you start painting it on a technical, do you start from one point? Do you do layers or what kind of
There's always a few layers. Yeah. I mean the towels was just a bit epic in its so it was a lot of like, ooh, that looks bad. Like, let's get that off. I actually started it bigger and then it was like, oh no, we cannot do this resolution at this scale. So I was like, I think I can get away with this language a little smaller. So I made it um, I don't know, 70% the size of the original version. And then it started to work. And just built up and it was like, oh, this looks, because it wasn't really painted from an image beyond the general stack, like the actual texture was almost more like a skin you would put on in a 3D rendering or something that we were just making up. We being me and my assistant Lee, who helps me so much. Lee Maxey, great painter. Um, and uh, yeah, so how many layers are on there? I don't know, five, like,
so very thin, I
but
assume.
thin. Yeah, yeah. I never paint very thick. Whereas like something like the legs, that was more straightforward. It's just like, um, I think there's two layers on both. Maybe one of them has three because something dried funky or something like that, but it's usually close to like three layers. Oh, sometimes the first layer is very basic, just like a gradient. And then depending on the painting, I'll add temperature shifts in the gradient, or like specific color, like, oh, it just depends on whether it's worth it for the color to kind of wander around and oh, it got near a warm thing and you feel the bounce. Sometimes that's too much work and just has no, like people can't even see it. And other times it's totally dependent on that. So like the egg painting has like a cool bounce from the ground and stuff like that because that painting is so simple. It felt like it needed, you know, you didn't want like a grayscale.
How accurate to the photograph?
The egg or just any of
Just
them?
any painting, yeah.
Real accurate. Yeah, very
You're not
accurate.
really deviating much from that.
Not really. I mean, only in the sense that there are sometimes the images are kind of shitty, like if they're from the internet. So it's like, oh, this, um, like which ones were bad? Um, the glasses were kind of bad, and so those are kind of made up a little bit. They're like pieced together, and like those little. I'm wearing the glasses, by the way, now. I got the glasses.
I
Sorry,
noticed
is
right
that
away. I wanted
really
to say,
nerdy?
no, it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. I noticed you, and I was about to comment that those look like I feel like I'd seen those glasses
I
before.
just look really good in these
Those
glasses.
are great.
So like the little things that your nose rests on, like it's like, okay, there's an individual photo of that, and I would get so the case is made up and it's pink on the inside, and it's like, okay, I'll get a like pink piece of paper and I'll put the glasses on there and I'll take a little photo and stick it into the image and yeah. Yeah. Or like the dog leash we had like that's kind of made up. It was like we developed a way to paint the stitching on the leash, like the fabric part, but then the clasp thing, the golden clasp is like it's the real leash, and yeah. They're a little Frankenstein. But I think that that's how like commercial photography is done also. You know, if you see like yeah, like a Toyota Tacoma, is that a car? Some kind of car, they're like they're giving you all of this information that isn't from one photograph. It's like often like five different lighting scenarios where each little piece of the car or whatever product it is flattered and made to look desirable. And I've done that before with some stuff. Like I did this painting of a gas can, and I worked with the guy who photographs my work usually, and I got the gas can and he helped me to combine a bunch of different photos. So like each piece of the gas can looked awesome. And the shadow looked a certain way that made zero sense with the lighting on the gas can, but kind of felt believable. But it was like a compositional choice to have this shadow kind of going off to the left.
We were talking about the Northern Renaissance, and we were talking about Van Eyck and the Ghent altarpiece and so forth. And
Yep.
I think I mentioned that I just got back from Bruges and from Ghent and Brussels to see these works over the summer. And I was really
Cool.
I've had them very strongly in my mind. And I was thinking about your work, and there's something very similar in the process. You look at Van Eyck, and it's hyperreal. It's beyond
Hmm.
real,
Yeah.
and I get that same sense looking at your work.
Yeah. The craft is like I don't know. It feels a little like I think because you feel the the making of it. You know what I mean? You just feel like I can't believe how small those brushes are, or whatever it is. I mean, that is the Ghent altarpiece is maybe the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's
Yeah.
incredible. I couldn't believe it. I kind of went not knowing that it was going to do like have that effect. I was just like, hey, we'll go on a train and we'll go see that thing. And then it was like, oh my God, people made this thing? It seems like it would take 10,000 years to make it or something. It was so cool. But yeah, something about the fact that somebody actually can make this stuff. Um, and I'm not putting myself in that category, that's for sure. But um, you're looking at a manila envelope and something about the fact that I painted it very carefully and with a lot of consideration for each part feels like you've never really looked at a manila envelope before. And yeah, that's kind of the mysterious part. It's kind of like take this subject that doesn't feel very meaningful and then put all this time and effort and craft into it to make it meaningful. And something about that crisscrossing of meaninglessness and meaning, or like smart and dumb or whatever, it's kind of comes to life with the contradiction of it.
I guess there's like a banality
Hmm.
to the envelope, the sink, everyday things you normally use, glasses, things that you just see in your everyday life, but they are painted in such a way that truly elevates them
Hmm.
to another level. So is it about noticing? Is it about encouraging somebody to notice all the beauty in something?
th- that is, I feel like the result, but the motive is more like, or I hope that's the result. But the motive is more like a painting. It's more like a sense of humor. So it's like a painting is this fancy thing, and working really hard to make a realist painting is, everybody knows that's like requires a lot of skill. And so it's like, well, what shouldn't I paint? Um, that's like exciting to me, is to try to find something that it's also a way to be original. Like, there's so many people making so many good paintings, and I don't know. Yeah, it's my sensibility to look um in low places, I guess.
In that article that I first encountered your work in, the writer was sort of asking that same question of why, like why you pick these objects? Why elevate these things?
Hmm.
Why paint these with such care, and why put so much time into painting normal objects? But I think that's an awesome, motive. But if there's this humorous element in it, I think
Yeah.
that really makes it interesting, right? There's something more,
Hmm.
for example, that postman with the love letter.
Yeah.
That's such a
Hmm.
beautiful paint. It's so beautifully painted, but it's also just such a great idea.
It's hard to make paintings funny because they just sit there and um or be funny for um more than like when you first look at a crazy painting or something. But I don't know if I guess my paintings are funny. They're like so deadpan. I don't know. It's dry. It's really dry. And so yeah, something about just taking this undeserving thing and saying it does deserve your consideration and you should look at it over and over. Um, yeah, it's a great recipe for me. And it definitely comes from looking around and seeing what everybody's doing and trying to think of like, okay, everybody's doing all that, so I should do something else. Which is,
That's pretty
I
good.
kind of been following that since came out of school. It's just like, okay, if everybody's doing kind of surreal landscapes, then I got to get out of there. Um, whatever trend of the moment. Like I started feeling like when I was doing all these figurative paintings, and it was like I was seeing a lot of figurative paintings around in the early 2000s at shows, and just was like, oh, everybody's doing this. What else could I do? Um, and maybe it's in my head and a way to feel like I'm doing something special and get motivated. But yeah, it's I suppose a contrarian streak, but it's more like, well, if I'm going to work on this thing really hard, it better be unique.
For me, the part of the humorous element is that you're getting somebody to look at this object for much longer than they normally would
Yeah,
consider looking at some glasses, an egg,
yeah.
whatever it is. And it's really, but you're putting so much care. Is it love of painting or is it love of the process? But whatever it is, this love is embedded into the thing and you can't look away. I'm just
Hmm.
so I love, like, just in the same way looking at like a Hans Memling or something. And I think at the show you mentioned those hands were kind of like Memling hands.
Oh yeah, I love Memling, and I love all those paintings where somebody's got their hand resting on the bottom of the frame for some reason, or they're like, there's a Memling where a guy's holding an old Roman coin that's really crazy, and it's just like at the bottom he's just kind of got this coin with a little profile portrait on it. So I was looking around for folded hands, and I was like, that would be a nice ingredient. I was looking for more figurative stuff to do in the show, and then because I have the skirt and the stockings, I was like, well, I should do a covered hands too. And I've painted gloves before, and I use these black gloves now. Um, so yeah, I was like, I looked around, and there was a particular Memling painting where a woman had her hands folded just like that, and they're sitting on this like little shelf at the bottom of the painting. Um, and I thought like, oh, I can do that, and I'll have a little shelf, or like, when you get your portrait taken in like the 80s, they would have your hands folded on like a little weird fake carpeted step or something like that. So like, oh, it'll be like that, and I can do a sky above that so it looks like a mountain landscape or something. And the black gloves give people the creeps. That's fun. I had to get but my usual gloves were not tight enough. Uh, there were so many wrinkles all over like, so I got extra small gloves and taped them like up my arms and did a couple of photo sessions, and eventually it was like, okay, these work, but they're like super tight so that I didn't have to paint 4 million wrinkles every which way. It also just would have been, it didn't look that nice. It just kind of, like a loose rubber glove, yuck.
Makes for a tighter painting too, I assume,
Yeah.
right? It also goes with the adult theme, right? Having the black gloves is
Totally.
sort of a
Everybody that came over to the studio in the lead up just was like, ew, creepy. So I was like, okay, that one's working good.
yeah, yeah. They really do elicit an emotional response, I think.
Yeah. Somebody told me, a friend of mine came to the show and he was like, oh, this show's about how you're a serial killer. And I was like, oh, yeah, it could be. I would be good at it.
I don't even, it's funny though, because as I'm coming at it from like a painter angle, so I'm really getting into I didn't really question the narrative at all until you said
Yeah.
something that there was.
People like to have a narrative. I don't know. That's
Of
cool.
course, yeah, of course, they want to know what it means. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily think about the
I-
quality of painting and on that
right.
level or whatever. And I wonder if Hans Memling or if Van Eyck or somebody was alive today, I kind of suspect that these are the paintings that they would make, because in a way we don't have like a cultural narrative like they did back then. You look at the Ghent altarpiece and you look at all
Mm-hmm.
these paintings had religious themes, and they all, the mystic lamb, the lamb of God, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
all the basically every Memling that's not commissioned. Even if it was a commission, it seems like it would still have had some sort of biblical theme,
Mm-hmm.
which ties into the sort of cultural narrative at the time that their paintings were for a specific purpose. And I get a sense that there is that still happening in your work.
Hmm. Um, I think the narrative, I mean, uh I don't have narratives for these at all beyond I'm trying to make a good painting. That's really it. And I want it to resonate, and I know that people will look at them and think about the subject matter and relate to it and tell a story in their own mind. And each person that does that will tell a different story, and I get that. But for me, the narratives are like less than a sentence. You know what I mean? It's not like, and here's the whole backstory of this character or something like that. It's more just like, how do I make this painting more interesting? And there's so many technical things where I'm just trying to eliminate hangups also. There was a highlight at the top of the gloves behind one knuckle that I was like, should that highlight pop, or does your eye stay there too long? And then it looks cut out. And it's more stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's more just about how the thing looks, and not thinking of interpreting that beyond just like, there's 10 possible choices and this one makes this thing stick a little longer or slows you down a little bit more. Um, you could do even something simple like a background that's just a little too dark. All of a sudden, a color harmony doesn't pop in the same way. So you're losing a little of the potency or whatever. It's more like, like those mixing boards that people, when they're recording an album or whatever, and there's like 100 little dials and they've got them all at the right level. I'm just kind of trying to work all those levels to get the thing to be okay, now it sounds perfect. Um, More than I'm certainly not trying to deliver a specific message about something. It's more just like, okay, let's create a mood, and making the show work together and have a kind of like interesting tie-in, whether it is formal, whether it's like, oh, that painting's small and that one's big, and this one has the same color as that. Like, there's yellow over here, and then there's yellow over there. There's metal here, and then there's metal over there on this one too. Um, yeah, it's not with an end in mind, that there's a certain conclusion you're supposed to draw, other than it felt worthwhile to go and look at this stuff.
I suppose then I'm projecting because I'm sort of in this world of Northern
Hey,
Renaissance that I'm like,
do
oh,
it.
he's, that's what he's doing. He's tapping into the cultural context. But I think you are tapping into the consciousness of the present moment.
Um, I'm paying attention, I guess, and trying to be and trying to evolve and I don't know. Yeah, I like paintings and they still work. So
Well, I just love how deliberate they are, though, how slow they are. And that's one thing that I think is really potent is that now
mm,
the culture is such a quick culture, everything's so fast, which you
right.
refer to because of the objects or
Hmm.
I don't want to say consumerist culture necessarily, but yes, consumerist
That's
culture.
part
You
of
have
it.
these
Yeah,
things as part of
somebody
it.
was like, "Oh, eggs. It's about inflation and how eggs cost a lot." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Totally. It's exactly what it's about."
That's so good. Yeah. But the fact that it's so slow and so deliberate and you're slowing down that process really makes it gets really interesting for me there because I'm really lingering on an image that I would
Yeah.
normally that's just meant to be zipped through really quickly. But
Yeah.
then you're forcing somebody to really, really, really slow down. And I think that's a thing that is very difficult to slow down in our culture because everything is
Hmm.
moves so rapidly. To me, it's really medicinal in a way. If you could look at a painting for longer than, I don't know, 30 seconds, that's successful, but in your
No,
case,
I
like
know. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, God, 2 seconds. Um, Yeah, I've been going around to shows since my show opened, and I've just been thinking like, this is so odd. What do? You go into this room, and you what do you walk around and look at everything for like 7 minutes, maybe, probably less,
that's
and
generous.
then you go like, that was pretty good, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously, it's a different thing if you can afford to buy an artwork and live with it. I think you have a totally different relationship with it. But I guess I've decided I'm walking around looking at artwork and hoping for an idea for my next artwork. So it's just this kind of looking at it helps you think of another one to do, and we just keep making more of it. And I don't know, it's exciting to see that other people are putting so much effort into making things and showing people.
How long would you say you spend on one painting on average?
I would say like a month is maybe the norm, but it's gotten a little weird because certain paintings have like big parts that I have to do in one shot. So like the sink or the skirt or the egg, it's like I had to do the whole sink in one day, and it takes 9 hours or something like that. And then I come in 2 days later, and it's part of it dried weird, and there's a shiny part that looks bad, and I don't know why. And so I have to wait for that to all dry, and I put stuff in the paint like poppy oil and stuff to slow down the drying so that I can kind of be blending for 9 hours and it's not getting like sticky and weird. And so now I'm waiting for 2 weeks for that to dry, and then I go again and hope that there's not that shiny part. And I think I ended up painting that sink, I don't know, 6 times, too many times. Um, so that painting ends up taking 5 months or something. It's just like on my list. So it's not like I start that painting and it takes 60 hours and it was all in a row or something. Whereas something like the towels or the sponge, it's like, yeah, you can go in and paint a square inch and feel like that was a good day and come back the next day and do another square, you know.
So you have multiple
Um,
going at once.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
it's for practicality.
Yeah.
Um, but how long did these paintings where it is like, oh, that part of it I can do in a day, they end up taking a long time, but it's not the same number of hours as the things that have the kind of like small brush labor intensive.
So it just depends on the painting.
I feel like I make 15 or 20 things a year.
That's completely reasonable.
Yeah, with drawings and stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
What drawings?
I do a lot of colored pencil
Hmm.
drawings. Do you see, can you
I'm
see over
looking
there?
back and I
There's
can
like a
see.
knee back there.
Oh, that's a
You see
drawing?
that? Yeah, that's a colored
Oh,
pencil
wow.
drawing.
I thought that was a
Yeah.
photo. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
Wow. And that chair is in the works, I assume.
That chair, yep,
Yeah.
that I almost like um it was an option for this show. But the leash painting looked better.
Yeah, nice.
So I went after the leash and then this, but I like this painting. It just it felt a little depressing to have a gray folding chair. And I was trying to I needed some more
Yeah.
movement and stuff. So the leash with the kind of wiggling loop and all of that stuff, and I could pick all the colors in that one in a way to make it a little more fun, and it made more sense to kind of that was the last painting for the show. So yeah. But
The
now I
leash.
have my yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do my 12-step folding chair next
I
and
was just about to say, I think
see where it goes.
I was gonna
It
say
just felt,
maybe
yeah,
that's why it's
it
depressing,
felt
is it
like a
seems like a,
church basement
yeah,
or
totally.
something. It's a little
Yeah.
bit sad. Brendan, the guy that owns Karma, he really likes this chair painting, and he came over and he's like, "What if we do the back room just the chair?" And I was like, "Ooh, that is kind of cool. Like the room where you go in alone and
Oh,
it's just this
right.
chair, and it's
Yeah.
like you're starting over after
After your
rec
debauchery.
your reckless affair." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really
yeah, it was a
good.
good idea,
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm
good.
too slow, too
Well,
slow.
that's a good problem to have. I mean, there's so much, just like you're talking about walking around shows and being like, what? Like, how long am I supposed to, like, what are you expected? How are you expected to absorb something? I had a similar experience walking around and seeing some shows. I was wondering how much of what I was seeing was going to be in a dumpster in 10 years.
Right. Um, a friend of mine said this was like 20 years ago. He just was like, Matt, you gotta think almost all this stuff is going to be in the garbage. I was like, oh man, I did not think about it like that, but yeah, it's true. I like to try to make paintings that if you saw it in the garbage, you might take it out.
Yes. Yes. Or it wouldn't get thrown away.
Yeah,
You put so much effort and there's so much care in
right.
your paintings that I think it would be very difficult to throw those out,
Yeah.
and I think same
I've made
thing.
some that I think would look like garbage, but I'm sort of over it at this point.
Half the paintings I've made or more than that are in the garbage currently. But that's the thing. Like, you're not going to throw away a Van Eyck or, you just wouldn't. I mean, they might fall out of
No.
fashion, but how do you make something that's durable? And I think we still so respond to effort. People can
Yep.
sense the amount of time and sense the care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, I feel like we're coming out of an especially weird market moment where people were spending a ton of money on art, and it was the time where looking at art on your phone sort of took over. Um and I think people are starting to realize that that doesn't make them happy. And the fact that there isn't the crazy market is sort of good for the artwork. And as long as people can stay afloat and not, like if they can just keep living their lives and grind away, I feel like there's going to be a lot of cool art coming out uh, now that it's not, it feels like there's less speculation. Maybe I'm wrong about this. This
I
is
think you're right.
definitely not, I don't, I don't know anything about art collectors really, but it feels like people. I'm friends with Darren Bader. Do you know that guy?
I know of him. He,
Okay, he showed at Rivington Arms with me, and he's a conceptual artist, and he has a show up right now at Matthew Brown that you should check out.
hmm.
And it's just full of ideas, and it's not. You don't look at his stuff and think that oh my God, the labor, the crap. It's more just like this guy is has a nimble mind and a capability with language and a way of combining form and references that is doing anything the greatest painting that took forever could do. And it's just objects that he's found and put together. And it feels like people needed to be reminded that all of this is about ideas. Um, that's what motivates me. And it just so happens that my language is this traditional craft. That's the best way for me to deliver on the ideas that I have. So, but yeah, I'm trying to feel optimistic about art because it has been a little bit strange for the past few years, or just I guess scary. Like something costs $1 million and it's not good. Things like that. You're like, wait a second. If I did something really good, is there even an audience that would notice it besides like two of my friends or something? Like that can start to feel scary. So, um, feeling like there's a little more logic behind what it means to make some art, and there's people to receive it. I feel a little encouraged on that front lately.
That's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a weird world we're in. And I think maybe this, we could call it a correction, could indeed be healthy all around, just for the culture. Like then the collectors that are buying work would then buy for, I guess, the right reasons, and now they're not speculating, and it's not about investment, and it's not because something is hot. It's because they really
Hmm.
love something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would make sense to me that there's not that many people that are both have the means and passionate about this. It kind of seems like, yeah, this is a kind of a rarefied space where you would want, like, I have some of my own work and I don't necessarily want it up. It's some of the work's quite annoying. I have this I have this big painting of a bunny, like a stuffed animal. It's like a jelly cat bunny, and it's lavender on a blue background. And this was a painting that people wanted to buy, but I decided to keep it. And it's about 5 feet square, and I don't, it's in a box. I'm like, I don't really want my apartment's too small. Like, what I'm gonna walk in every day and be like, oh my God, that bunny is looking back at me. So I get it. Art's annoying.
That's true. It's funny. It's like I feel like the with art, like the dosage makes the medicine, like what it is. It's not art isn't necessarily good or bad. It can really pull you so many ways. It can
Hmm.
really do so many things, and I
Yeah,
think a friend of mine who's a painter, he makes like atelier kind of paintings, like such a skilled painter. He actually doesn't consider himself to be an artist. It's like considers himself a craftsperson, which I found to be
right.
really interesting that somebody would say that. But he was saying that there's like a moral, he thinks there's a moral responsibility not to make bad art,
Hmm.
which I
And
found kind
that's
of,
why he doesn't want the label?
I don't know. And I
Hmm.
don't think that's related to his not calling himself an artist. It was a different conversation, but he was just saying that, if somebody makes something that is making somebody feel bad or weird, then there's like a moral that's morally wrong in some way. That's kind of what I gathered from.
People making art that isn't good is uncomfortable. It's really
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some weird
Yeah. But that's,
yeah.
I don't know, that's part of it. It's like going to see a comedian and they bomb or something. I sort of like that experience. It's fascinating. Just like you feel like embarrassment traveling and filling a room. And it's, yeah. Um, we are just weird pack animals or something. Yeah. Where it's just like you start to feel weakness and everyone's like, oh, get me away from this vulnerability. It's horrible.
Yeah, and you tap into that because I mean
Yeah.
consciousness, it's so permeable, right? Like it doesn't just
Yeah.
stay in the one person's mind.
It's weird how much, it's certainly in the case of making an artwork or something, it's like, it's not that, it's like, it shouldn't be so bad to fail. I don't know why, yeah, everybody wants to get away and yeah, finds that the contagious vulnerability of failure is just like awful or something.
It's
I
the
don't
worst
know.
thing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
people think they perceive it as the worst thing. I think it probably has to
Yeah.
do with our sort of such our. I mean, we're such social animals that
Yeah.
losing prestige in the
Right.
eyes of your peers and the culture is one of the worst things. Because historically, as a species, that would have probably meant death, being ostracized from the
Right.
community and so forth. But so back to your work, there we talked about it being sort of hyper real. Similarly, when I saw the Ghent altarpiece, I got a sense of really felt kind of n not creeped out necessarily, but just like there's like an uncanny valley
Yeah.
thing happening there that I think
Hmm.
happens in your work too. Maybe scale has to do with it. It's hyper real, but it's not the object in scale. How do you think about scale?
Well, everything in my show is bigger than it actually is. And that has over the past few years been sort of a way to um be playful. It's just fun to, there was that store Think Big in the 80s where you could buy like a giant crayon or a pencil or something or a watch and
That's such an awesome 80s thing.
yeah.
You know,
Um, and so just seeing something like that makes it feel fun. So that's one part of it. And actually, when I pick a kind of like, okay, I was working on a show and I needed to make a small painting, and I realized partway through because I was trying all of these objects I was making them smaller than they actually are, like a little tiny sweater or something like that. And it wasn't working with the rest of the show where there was a big bar of soap and a, a big paintbrush and some big dog bowls. And I was like, oh, the object in the painting needs to be smaller than the painting. And so it's blown up, whatever, it's 150% scale. Otherwise, it just doesn't work in this room. Um, and maybe you could play with that where something is too small and then something is too big, but it felt like it just didn't match. So it was like, okay, I'm looking for things that are like, the size of my hand or something like that. And I eventually did a pill bottle and that worked
That
on a
was
small
bigger.
painting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
bigger than life size. And same for the sponge. I knew I needed a small painting, and I had an idea for a sponge 10 years ago. And I finally kind of followed through on it. I was like, okay, that'll be good. It'll have like texture on the level of the towels that's across from it, so I can kind of match that level of detail. Like, I didn't want you to walk in and be like, and then there's one that's insanely detailed and the rest aren't in that same way. And so I felt like I needed more variety there. But yeah, um, I feel like I'm not exactly answering your question. How do I think about scale? Is that it?
I think you answered it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
creating the show. So it's like, okay, I'm working on these walls and how many paintings do I want per wall? And yeah, I'm thinking about it a lot, but I don't think there's like a right answer. But it's definitely one of the big ingredients. And I think scale or subject, certain colors that are default to the like built into that object. You know what I mean? Like the manila envelope is that color. Um, you don't see those as me choosing things. And I don't want you to see, not right away anyway. There's something really subtle about it. Whereas if I like, let's say I made the background color on the egg like some intense saturated color, you'd be like, oh, that's Cerletty choosing that color. He wants that for some reason. But if I sort of like do that more subtly and allow the subject to dictate the terms, all of a sudden it's not me doing it anymore. And that's when I think it's more alive. But like things that people don't think about, like scale, it's like, no, I'm going down to the quarter inch on some of these, going like, that's better than that. And I'm trying to just make it resonate, make it feel like there's something about this size with that subject with these colors that feels like you want to stay there and keep looking at it. So,
I think that's so important. It's so
yeah,
important because I guess what you're saying is that it's very specific,
yeah, yeah.
and there's a reason it's specific, and that specificity comes through.
Yeah.
And what I really think, and this is a conversation I had with this, do you know Jonathan Almayer?
Mm-mm.
I keep, he's a painter. I think he still shows at James Fuentes. Awesome, just awesome painter. Really, really interesting guy. Had a great conversation. He was talking about specificity when we were talking about this is before my trip to Bruges. And we were talking, or before Belgium, and we were talking about the Northern
Mm-hmm.
Renaissance. And we're like, well, what is it? Why is that painting so durable through time? And his answer
Mm-hmm.
was that it's specificity, that is
Hmm.
such specific painting, which is really a function of love. They
Hmm.
really, really were every detail is considered. Every leaf is equally is rendered with such precision. Every moment there's no accidents in those paintings.
Right. Well, but that can go wrong. Like if I don't like the idea of a painting of mine feeling like the subject is me working on it. So, uh, yeah, that can definitely, I've done paintings where that becomes the subject, where it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe you did all of that. It took so long to render that thing. And I'm like, oh, that's a mistake. It shouldn't feel like that's what the message you're receiving.
What painting, for
Um,
example, might come across like that?
um,
Something
well,
that's
the
hyper.
sponge is kind of like that,
No,
but it's
no.
like, but it's, I'm in on it. So it's not an accident. Like the painting is called Chore Boy. And,
Interesting. Yeah.
like, and it's got all of this labor in it.
But
Um,
also you needed that texture to balance the towel, right?
yeah.
In the context of the
Um,
show.
there's some paintings, MathewCerletty.com. There's some paintings that I work too hard on. But I think that controlling tone is a big part of it. So it's like if I was let's say, putting all this craft into a subject that was like, God, I don't know, what's something that like everyone thinks is like high culture, like a beautiful violin or something, like I don't know. Um, it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? Like it has to have these like highs and low. It's got to have all of this balancing of those levels. And so the specificity, it's like
Yeah.
there's a time and a place for specificity, and then there's times where it's just like now it needs to be vague. Um, and so maybe my subjects are a bit vague, some of them. Um, but yeah, they don't feel like I don't want it to feel personal. Like I've been trying to paint like a small step ladder. I haven't done it yet. And I have one, but it's really beat up and it has paint drips and it's got this whole life. And I'm like, well, I don't want to paint this one. It's got like a whole personality and I want it to have no personality. So you're looking at something that is ready for you to use and not something that I already used that you're meeting at the end of its life.
So you
Um,
want you're deflecting it from you. It's not about you.
It is, but I don't want, I want to be a little tricky about that. If it were, yeah. I don't like looking at my work and immediately thinking like there's me, like I don't know.
There's a real mastery in that of knowing, like it's like I imagine. Okay, so I've only surfed once and I barely could get on a board, but I feel like the surfing analogy kind of works here, like knowing which way to go, knowing how to balance these things.
Totally. Yeah, I get that. Um, yeah, you gotta, yeah. I've said in some other interview once, I was like, I think that being an artist is kind of like being a parent, like a good parent, where you're not saying like you must do this and that, and then you're kind of like listening to your kid and being like, oh, you have this talent. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that coming. So being open and trying to nurture, or like, I don't know, growing a nice garden or something where you have to learn all about like, oh, you require like this and that, and yeah, you got to be like supportive of the skills that you're seeing of the thing in front of you. It's not really, you know what I mean? Like with scale, it would be like, okay, I want to impress everybody. I'm going to make a 10-foot tall painting of whatever it is. And then it's like, well, that's just my dumb ambition or ego or something being illustrated. That's not a good subject. But it's like, but if this painting is 6 inches tall, it may not have that same scale of ambition or whatever. But it becomes odd and interesting and it draws people in and it's not about me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's an analogy that the Buddha is said to have used where he talks about meditation like holding a bird. If you hold it too tight, you'll crush it, but it too loose and it'll fly away.
Hmm. Yeah, I've crushed some birds, but my batting average is getting higher.
Oh man, that's so good. So one, I don't want to keep you too long, but I have one final question. Who are some influences historically as a painter?
Well, I suppose a lot of them are, I mean, more recent. Jasper Johns is huge for me. It just felt like I got, I had this more academic training at Boston University and got to New York and felt like I didn't know anything about the last 100 years of painting and art and stuff. And I got that Jasper Johns retrospective book that was from MoMA, and I just destroyed this thing looking at it. And I felt like the way that he presents the viewer very directly with something that they don't totally understand and commits to it was just that was really helpful to me. Um, and Robert Gober is another one. There's certainly I've taken a lot of cues on like trying to engage with the installation and presenting these nondescript things and trying to load them up with um, tension and meaning, even though it's just, something totally banal or whatever, like a door leaning against the wall. Um, yeah, I would say those are two big ones recently. Um, I had a relationship a little bit with Bryce Martin through the Rivington Arms Gallery, and he um, was incredibly generous, just like would tell you old crazy stories about the art world. And I asked him, I'm like, how do you make your drawings with the wax? And he went into every detail about how he does it and had no issue. Like it was like, oh, is this going to be a secret? And he was very encouraging and made me feel like, oh, maybe I can do this.
It's really important to have that.
Yeah.
You're in a community with people that you haven't met, people you don't know, but it really does
Hmm.
help to be directly connected with older artists. I've been fortunate too to have a lot of positive older artists as sort of sort of pseudo mentors, I suppose.
One of the first times I met you, we were somewhere and Lisa Yuskavich was there and you knew her and you were like, oh, hey, Lisa. And I was like, oh, you know Lisa
Yeah,
Yuskavich. This
that's right.
guy's cool.
That's right. I do. Yeah, because I worked as Werner. I was the handyman for a while. I
Okay.
should get a hold of her. Maybe she'll be on the podcast. Yeah,
That'd be great.
she,
She's a firecracker.
hell yeah, she is. Yeah, she's got a show right now at the JP Morgan Library
Oh, yeah.
of drawings. Very beautiful. But
Her
also
stuff's been
upstairs.
getting better and better lately. Yeah, one of her shows that I saw at Swerner, I don't know, a year or two ago. Wow.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
If you do go to the JP Morgan Library, there's also a show upstairs of medieval psalters
Hmm.
of illuminated manuscripts, and it is
Cool.
probably the best show I've seen all year. It's insane.
Oh, wow.
So, so good.
Right. Did they have a Memling show like a little while ago? I saw something
Did
there.
they? If they did, I missed
It,
it. It was my first time, the first time I've ever been there.
it
But
was all these tiny portraits. It might have been Memling. I
oh
feel like I
man, they
walked in on
would.
accident and then it was
Oh
like, oh, yeah, it was good. Maybe I'm making that up.
no, no, they would do it. I mean, they if anywhere would have a Memling show, it'd be
Yeah.
them. There's a couple of Memlings in the off in JP Morgan's office.
Hmm.
You know the little like there's like the office to the
Yeah,
right in the
yeah.
library. There's a couple of Memlings in there, so I assume they would definitely do a show like that. Um,
Memling. Was
Memling.
he like a like a what do you call it? Monk or something like that? Or was he just like a crafts person? Like I don't really
I
know
don't
anything about him.
I don't know. I should know more about him because I just went to
Yeah.
the Hans Memling Museum in Bruges.
He's
There's
got his own museum. Good
He's
for
got his own
him. He
museum. It's
deserves one.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
in what used to be up until relatively recently, it was a hospital from the Middle Ages, and it was still a
Huh.
hospital up into the 1970s. And now they have a lot of like relics and things like that, but also an area devoted to Hans Memling. And it's kind of trippy because there's like neon Hans Memling and neon above above like the main space where his stuff
Hmm.
is. So it has this kind of like modern element, but in a medieval building. They have amazing stuff
That
though. It's
sounds
just incredible.
very weird and cool.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. It's so good. If you're next time you're in Belgium, definitely it's worth a look.
I was in Oslo doing a show like 2 years ago, and they have this new like Munch museum, and it's this giant, cool modern architecture, and then there's this giant sign on the side. It's like on the harbor thing there, and there's this huge sign that just says Munch, like giant letters, and I mean it says Munch, but like I'm just like the Munch building. This looks in. Is this? Does anybody think that's funny? I thought it was funny.
What was it a joke on their part or
No, it's
no?
just
Yeah.
it's Monk. Yeah, I don't know. That's his building.
How was the museum?
It was very, very cool. That guy's great. I didn't realize. I thought he was like kind of emo and annoying when I was young. And I show at this gallery standard in Oslo, and so I've been to Oslo like 6 times or something, and those paintings are incredible. Yeah, he's really a cool painter, and it's so different than how I work. So it's like I find it I'm usually drawn to artists that paint in ways that are very different than how I work, that seem like they're more free, maybe. Like to like I don't think of myself as a performer really. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not about like, okay, I'm here and I'm gonna express myself and I'm gonna improvise and all of that stuff. Mine's much more like planned and calculated. So when I see artists that it feels like they just caught the moment and it's all there. I'm always really impressed by that.
Same. I think that's really difficult to do, and I
Yeah,
think there's so many people that think it's easy because it looks easy,
yeah,
but that's really really hard
yeah,
to paint
yeah.
like that.
I think everybody's looking at artwork to try to feel a little more free or like there's more potential in the world. And yeah, I wish I could kind of deliver that as effortlessly as some people do, but I'm more in the effort camp, unfortunately. But it's still, you can kind of get there.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I get lost. I get lost in your paintings. I recall one time you told me that you loved painting straight lines because it was like driving with cruise control.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I really like doing those text paintings because it is like It is like driving on a nice road and you're not, you're not in traffic, whereas like something where it's like the rendering is really tight, it's like icy conditions or something, and it's like, oh my God, after you're done that for 2 hours, you like need to take a deep breath and just sit down. Yeah.
Like
I
you
love
gotta really
doing
stay alert.
text paintings
Yeah.
and yeah, my straight lines are real straight too.
But you're not using tape.
No, I don't like how that looks. I do a lot of like I'll like draw something with a ruler and then paint it, but like I like put my eyeball like on the surface and kind of look down it and look for little bumps and stuff, and that's a good way to kind of
Like
make
look
sure
down the
it's
length
straight.
of the line.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That's a good trick.
What bumps? Like bumps that would show that it deviated from the line.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're looking into the weave of the canvas, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Um
I forgot to ask, what medium are you using? You said poppy oil?
I like as a medium for the oil paint. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't really use a ton of medium unless like the paint
Just you want to
is
slow it
too
down or
thick
do
or whatever.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's for specific things. And I've tried a lot of different recipes over the years, and like people told me about like, oh, you can use a little clove oil to like
I've heard
really slow
that.
it down, but it's kind
Yeah.
of dangerous. Like it won't dry if you use like more
Hmm.
than a drop and stuff. So I try to avoid that. But yeah, like I have two little squeeze bottles, and one is half walnut oil, half Gamsol, and the other one's half poppy oil and half Gamsol. And those are pretty much all I would ever use. Though with some really tricky paintings where I really need it to be open for a long time, I'll kind of up the poppy oil in there. And
Just to
I do a lot
slow
of
it
this
down.
oiling out thing. Do you know what that is?
No.
I learned about it at a point where I needed surfaces because I don't varnish, so I need them to like dry and this like really
It looks
unified
quite
and not.
matte.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do this thing where you take half oil, half mineral spirits, and you brush it onto the surface of whatever you're doing for, and you let it sit for two, like kind of thick, and you let it sit on like a dry painting for 2 minutes, and then you wipe it all off with a cloth as much as you can get off.
Wait, so you painted the
And
paint you painted on the painting and you put
yep.
the oil, the
So
cloth.
it's like, let's say it's the sink. So I'll do this, I'll paint this oil and mineral spirit mix onto the surface, and I have a little clock going, and I wait for 2 minutes, and then I bounty off as much as I can,
Paper towels?
and yeah,
Yeah.
and then without like smearing it onto the parts of the painting that I don't want it to go on or whatever, um, and um, and then I wait 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that. And it sinks into the paint and it kind of makes the painting, the surface like equally thirsty. Do you know what I
Huh.
mean?
Yeah.
So there's not like, oh, there's one area where the paint was a little thicker or something about the ground, it dried funny, stuff like that. And everything kind of dries in this uniform way. So you're sort of like, it's like a barrier layer almost.
Hmm.
And supposedly you can do this as many times as you want, and you're not going to run into the issues of fat over lean and cracking and stuff because it's so thin
And it's so
and
uniform.
yeah, and it's half mineral spirit, so it's just to kind of like, yeah, to unify
So
the
every layer
surface.
you do
For
it?
I do it on a painting where I'm having issues, and then it's like, okay, now I wait, and now I'm fingers crossed the next one's going to be the final thing, the
Huh.
final coat.
So if
Yeah,
you don't have issues, you might never do it on a
right.
painting.
Yeah, if
And
it starts
it's
to be
thin
like,
enough,
oh, this is getting weird, I think I need to do my oil out.
like too thick or too oily,
Or just like, oh, there, I just keep getting
shiny.
some glistening streaks that
Got
are
you. Yeah.
distracting and you don't want them. Yeah, stuff like that.
Wow.
I wish there was a good way to varnish a painting that didn't look kind of like there's a coating on it. And I would want like a super matte varnish. I don't know. I'm sort of I'm not experienced varnishing things.
I'm not either, but I just picked up some of this matte medium,
Hmm.
which is very slow drying. I think
Yeah.
it's quite slow drying. Grumbacher is the only place I've found that makes it.
Hmm.
I wanted to make thicker paintings that had a more matte quality.
Yeah.
So I was like gonna like work this into the thick moments. And it
Hmm.
did dry pretty matte.
It
So I
worked
mean
okay.
I don't know, but it seems like you're getting
It
great
was in the
results.
paint though. You didn't put it on at the end.
No, it wasn't a
Yeah.
varnish. I think you could
Yeah.
maybe use it as a varnish, but technically it was like a medium that you mix into the paint.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's also the issue of like all the varnishes are like, wait 6 months
I know
to
it's
do this, and I'm
yeah,
like, 6 months? Yeah,
yeah.
what
Are
are,
you
what
out
are
of
you
your
talking
mind?
about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What is this? The Middle Ages?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months. So what are you working on right now? What do you have?
Just I'm doing that painting behind me and some drawings and kind of trying to regroup. It's always very weird to have a show up. I just feel like sort of needy and like there's nothing to do, but like I don't know, wait till it's over.
And then work on the next show?
Yeah,
Do you feel like it's
exactly.
too soon to work on the
It's
next show?
hard to work on the next show, I find, while one is up. I'm just sort of distracted in a way that isn't helpful at all. It's like there's nothing to do.
Do you feel like you have a bit of postpartum
It's a
malaise?
little of that. It's like, oh God, that year of my life is all there. Did it work? But I feel like the people are responding nicely. So I feel satisfied. Yeah. The gallery's being nice to me. They're like promoting the show and I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a little thing on they posted a little interview, a short interview
Yeah,
on
yeah.
it. That was good. That was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah, and I think and it's a great gallery. You know,
Yeah, they're good. They're like trying to take over the world and uh hey, that's not the worst thing to be connected to. I'm not trying
yeah.
to take over the world, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Good luck. Do you feel best when you're preparing for your show or like at what point when you're halfway through the show? When do you feel like you're most energized in the
Um
process?
when I'm walking home and I've got a good idea that I'm
Yeah.
psyched to, I'm like, "Oh yeah, ooh, that's a good one. It's exciting
Yeah.
and it feels like it's something that's new to me and I can't like I like showing people this stuff. That's always been a big part of it for me. So,
I
yeah.
really get a sense now just talking to you that I feel like I see you as a conceptual artist, whatever that means. But
Yeah. Yep. It's there's lots of painters that are kind of like that, and I feel like I'm in that camp a bit. Yeah.
yeah, just it's really refreshing. It's really cool hearing how much consideration you put into eat the objects, the scale,
Hmm.
every element. That's why I was sort of mentioning specificity because
Yeah.
everything seems to be very specific. And in the context of the whole show, there's really a lot of so much care and so much thought and effort put into the show as a whole, as if the show is like one piece, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to do a good job and finding the avenues that sort of suit me. And luckily there's, been a million great artists that have shown all these different facets that you can pay attention to. And um, yeah.
We're so lucky to have access. I mean, there's one thing about the
Yeah.
culture that we are oversaturated, super saturated, I should say, with just content. But if
Hmm.
you know like what you're after, it's really quite a boon.
Yeah, totally.
You have a new kid too, right?
Yeah, he's 5. He's medium new. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's a very happy guy. Yeah, he's made all this weird time since like COVID on like just much more enjoyable. So,
Has your work changed?
um I have a much more civilized routine now. So I feel like it would almost be that, just like the I go home at 6 every day kind of thing, whereas I used to stay here all night and go home at like 3 in the morning. And so I'm more organized, and I think having him around, it's easier not to get like bent out of shape about some of the frustrations that I might be having in the studio. Um, and he's very, he's like very opinion, like he comes in here and he's like, I don't like that color. I don't, which has been sort of amazing. Um, I would think like, oh, he won't like my stuff or feel like he knows what it is, but he totally is very comfortable coming in and just being like, that's the best one.
Amazing. So you have a
It's a
built-in.
wild, yeah. It's wild to be like, I'm from Wisconsin, it's wild to be like, oh, my kid's like a New Yorker and he's growing up like going to art galleries and knowing about all this stuff that I arrived at, in my 20s or whatever.
So you went from Wisconsin to Boston
Yeah.
to go to school?
Just going to school and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I guess I'll try being a painting major, like with like no clue what I was really, whether that would stick.
So were you making art growing up? Were you drawing?
I was, but it wasn't, I was like in an all boys Jesuit high school and art was not like, there was art classes, but it wasn't clear that that was no one was really excited about it. I would make like the poster for the dance or something like that, but yeah, it just was like a total like I guess painting. I don't know. That sounds good. It was very like shot in the dark, but then it was like, oh, okay, this is clicking. Yeah. My parents were nice enough to be like, okay, try it. But they didn't they wanted me to go to like a bigger school in case it was like, well, that's not right for me. And I can switch to poli sci. I
They
don't
want
know.
you to have a well-rounded education.
Yeah, it just was like the idea of committing totally to painting and going to an art school, I think, was a little bit too far in that direction. For me too. I was like, yes, I don't know what that means. So, yeah.
What did your parents
But
do
it
growing
it
up?
clicked. Doctor. My dad was a doctor, and my mom was like a hospital administrator ultimately, but like started as a physical therapist and worked in rehab. So
So they
yeah.
weren't art people necessarily.
No, they were like not opposed to it. Like we went to the art museum and they would go to like the opera. So they were like, but they weren't I don't know if they knew who Jasper Johns was, you know. That my dad had some Picasso like prints that were like printed on a like textured surface, so it sort of looked like paint, but it was like a kind of a lumpy puzzle surface or something. But there was like one that was cubist, and then there was one that was like the old guitar player. So I feel
Blue
like
from the blue period?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, I like art, but like, not a lot, just a little
So they
bit."
were like peripherally interested.
Yes, yes. Yeah. It was a high level of interest in art for Milwaukee.
I think it's inspiring for a lot of people to hear that you didn't come from an art background.
Right.
You didn't go to grad school. You just right away after undergrad made these paintings. They got seen and shown, and you've been supporting yourself as a painter basically this whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been up and down, and I think just kind of surviving has been, it's like at some point somebody was like, just as long as you just don't go away, and eventually they'll let you stick around. Just
Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
That's
there's been
good.
scary phases, and then it's kind of like, oh, I guess now it's not so scary, and I'm selling some stuff again, and then but yeah.
Well, you have to have a lot of faith, right?
Yeah, I just don't have anything else I could do at this point. I am screwed. So yeah, that
No,
part of it,
no
that part
backup
helps.
plan.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just
really
like,
helpful.
I don't know what I'd be like. Can I work at Karma, I guess, as like I don't know what, like I don't know what I do.
Oh man. Well, it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the
Yeah,
time
this was
today.
super fun, Dan.
So good. So, do you have anything else you want to add before we go?
Um, no, I feel good about it. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for being on. And people should definitely see your show at Karma. It's spectacular, which is going to be up until December 20th.
20th. Yep, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do a talk on the 11th also with Mamie Tinkler, who's a friend of mine and wrote the press release, which is very beautiful. And I'm going to say all the exact same stuff I just said.
Excellent. So people should go to the talk and they should see the show.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, Matt.
See ya. Thanks.